today I'm going to talk about the game Grav Armor, a game of armored combat on far-flung planets from Dwarfstar Games in 1982. It's one of their box games I've shown here. I think the cover art is very well done. And all these Dwarfstar games are very well thought out as well. Back, it gives a little bit of theme, shows terrain, counterexamples. It's a fast-moving game of future armored warfare for two players. I think it can be played solo as well. It realistically simulates the high-speed, high-casualty combat between streaking gravitic vehicles, surface effects craft, supersonic fighters, orbital dropships, and power-suited infantry. So the box contains the components well. For a little more theme in the game rules. In the 31st century, the Lerlem Empire was disintegrating. Ever quarrelsome humans fragmented into many splinter groups, opposed by the still considerable military strength of their empire, while aliens stood clear. A league of successor states formed, and half the spiral arm was aflame with wars on 1,000 worlds. Both sides were evenly matched, since the rebels used equipment and industries originally built to serve the Imperial war machine. So it's meant to simulate the wars between the Imperial and League forces on the different worlds. So included is a couple dice, a couple nice dice, rule book. I'll talk about it in more detail. So obviously it's small to fit in the thing, but it's 22 pages. Some player aid charts, which I'll talk about in detail. Firing table, hit effects table, turn record track, and some bonus, attack, modifiers. As far as the counters, there's a good amount of counters for a game this size. 154 of them. I've shown them all here. These are all the counters, and then I'll zoom in and show the unique counters. So here's the unique counters. Disrupted units to indicate when infantry are disrupted. Game turn marker, city marker, fort. The green are forces that are used in different scenarios, not all of them. The blue and the red forces are the main distribution of forces. The blue are the Imperial, and the red are the League, kind of the rebel kind of forces. So then, other than the turn markers and say fort markers, the individual units that are involved in battle have the format of this is electronic warfare, the attack value. These are the weapon types, the range, the defense value, definition of what the unit is, and movement points. And then there's also white and black units. The white ones are transports that can transport infantry, and the black ones don't. And then as far as the EW, if they're white, they have an enhanced ability, which I'll talk about in more detail. As far as the movement points, the black ones are the Grav type vehicles, and the white are Hoover, and then the yellow indicate infantry. So D and F. D indicates a dropship, and F is a fighter. defense values. So black colored values have active close defense systems and white don't. So that's kind of an overview, and I'll talk about that in more detail when I get to the rules. So the map consists of these 6 pieces of cardboard, and they can be moved obviously into different configurations, which of course gives a lot of great replayability. Most games usually when they, obviously the different colored hexes mean different terrain, and usually games it's said what that is, but this game's different in that in each scenario it has a different definition of what those terrains do, and the terrain affects generally both movement and combat. So for instance, a scenario would have a terrain key that says the amount of movement points for the different types of units, of the yellow, blue, the different colored, and then also the combat value. And it defines what they are. So that gives a lot of, not only do you got a lot of mix of what the board can do, but in each scenario they also they can change up what the different colors mean, so that's really great. Plenty of replayability with both the unit, the varying unit types, and also the map. And again, there's many different unique unit types. So again, the rules here. So the beginning is, theme we talked about. Game equipment we covered. Just to reiterate, on the counters, electronic warfare, attack value, weapon type, maximum range, vehicle silhouette, defense value, type of unit, movement points. EW value, electronic warfare, represents the electronics computers used by the unit. Affects range, firing, defense. White colored gives enhanced defensive ability, where the EW doubles on defense only. Attack value is the power of the unit's long-range weapons. Its main armament. Weapon type. So the units have different, weapon types indicated. For instance, this one would be Gatling lasers. But options are missiles, particle beam, Gatling lasers, magnetic bolts. If there's no symbol, it's a combination of weapons. Maximum range in hexes the unit can fire. Vehicle silhouette. If it's black, it can't carry troops, but if it's white, it can. Movement points. So the Grav units move different than other units. And so black is Grav units, white is Hoover, yellow is infantry. F is fighter, D, dropship. Unit type name, that just describes what it is. Defense value, part of the defenses, black colored values, active close defense systems, which add to attack values at 1 hex range. We'll talk about that in combat. White is, passive systems, basically armor. So, fortress marker. Represents fixed defensive installations. It's immobile combat. City marker index in the master board, and you ignore the terrain in that hex if you have a city marker on it. It just becomes a city. Disrupted indicates disruption of infantry units. A disrupted unit is temporarily out of action, but not destroyed. Colors: Imperial's blue, the League is red, and others are for kind of other independent forces brought in depending on the scenario. Scale: each unit represents 10 vehicles, or in the case of infantry, 100 infantrymen. A hex is 50 kilometers in distance across, and the entire map of 6 map areas is equivalent to approximately Western Europe. We're out of luck if we are looking for missing parts. Turn procedures. So a player, so you go between players, and a player moves, and the other player is the one that fires. And then you roll reverse, where you, first of all, if there's disrupted units, the moving player, removes them, but the firing player remains disrupted. The moving player moves his units. The firing player may fire at any of the units before, during, or after movement. So a player moves and covers disrupted units, and the other player is the one that fires. And then you roll reverse, where the other player moves, and then the other player fires. So it's interesting how that goes. So it's different. So there's several scenarios, and the different scenarios give victory points. Movement. So the moving player moves his units one at a time across the X grid. Must finish moving unit before beginning to move another. You can move in any direction or combination of directions. Hexes. You expend movement points to move across the terrain, and how much movement points the terrain costs is dependent on the scenario. Minimum move: a unit cannot enter a hex if it lacks sufficient. But you don't have to move. And again, while one player is moving, the other is firing at them. Stacking: any number of friendly units can be stacked together, since the hex are represent a lot of physical distance. Units may free pass to friendly units. Unit may never enter a hex occupied by enemy unit, even if it's disrupted. There's no zones of control. You're moving onto the map. It just enters it like a regular hex. You can move off the map. It cannot, if it moves off the map, it can't return. So grav units. So grav unit, the ones with a black movement, use a free flight move. Each hex costs only 1/2 MP to enter, regardless of the terrain. Exception is the final hex, which needs normal because it's landing. As a result, they seem to be in during the move play, they are presumed to be in 0 combat value terrain, and are automatically described and automatically detected by any enemy within maximum range. So you can see them, but they don't have any combat defense also their terrain. Carriers, units that have white, are infantry carriers. They may carry one infantry unit inside. Infantry units are picked up and loaded during its move at no extra cost. They can't be in free flight when they're picking up or dropping off. When infantry unit is carried, including pick up and drop off, is inside the carrier. If the carrier is destroyed, the infantry is destroyed. Correction. If the carrier is destroyed by hit, the infantry inside is also hit. Separate hit effect, die roll is made for the infantry to see the damage. If the carrier is in free flight, the infantry is automatically destroyed. Now, infantry can be carried by only one carrier during turn. Infantry unit can be hit alone in the pickup or drop hex, so it can be used not inside it. Climbing or dropping. Certain units have the ability to climb directly or dive from orbit. To climb, the unit simply rises off the map, going straight up. To dive, drops to the hex, going straight down. Climb or dive occurs entirely within one hex. Roll altitude is far above. Thus, the unit climbing or driving cannot be hit at the end of climbing or the start of diving. However, the unit can be fired on while climbing and diving during its use. This period is considered to be trained with 0 combat value. It's automatically detected by the enemy with excellent range. Give some examples here. Spacecraft, fighters and dropships. So this would be a fighter and a dropship. The spacecraft, the ability to climb and dive. So that's where the climb and dive applies. It can also travel over the map or at infinite speed. This means a fighter can move from one hex to another single move. However, the move must be traced to a hex grid and used in free flight during this time. Therefore, if the unit is in terrain with 0 combat value, it is automatically detected by elements in minutes within maximum range. At the end of the move, the fighter dropship is assumed to drop to the surface. Combat. The fighter playing may fire whenever he desires when the other is moving. If fire before a move, may shoot down unit before it moves. Or the fire player could ask the moving player to halt at any time so he can fire. Yes, firing during moves. So anytime during the move. After the move, after unit's finished movement, may be fired upon. Notes, the firing player can always decide when to take his shots, basically seeing when things are in range or when it's most advantageous. Range and direction, to maximum range. In order to detect the target, the fighter must be able to detect it. If it's within maximum range, detection is computed on the same path to range, compute detection. Yet the combat value of each hex along the path, but not the fire's hex. The target is detected if the total is equal or less than the fire's electronic warfare value. If the terrain total is greater than the fire's EW value, detection fails. It cannot hit the unit. So it's interesting. Automatic detection. Grav units in free flight, spacecraft moving over the map, including fighters and dropships, and any unit diving from can be detected. Hit procedure. So when it shoots, a variety of different values are added. It's expected to get a final hit value. If the amount expected exceeds the amount added, the Difference is a negative number, okay. To compute the final hit value, consult the list. Add firing against EW value, add firing against attack value, add any special armor bonuses of the firing unit, subtract target CW value, subtract target's defense value, subtract combat value of terrain. Okay. Target terrain exceptions. If the target is a grav vehicle in free flight, any unit, diving, or spacecraft moving across the map, combat value of the terrains is automatically 0. Compare the final hit value to the total of 2 dice from the firing table. So the firing table is here. So this is the final hit value, and then you roll 2 dice, and then you see if a miss or a hit. So a hit destroys anything except infantry or forts. So all Grav and Hoover units are automatically destroyed by a hit, and it's removed. Fighters and dropships are also destroyed by a hit. Infantry, so if an infantry unit, again they have the yellow MP, hit the hit effects table is consulted. So this is the hit effects table. Roll 12-sided dice, and these are the type of infantry. And the result is no effect, disrupted, destroyed, reduced in electronic warfare, and that applies to a fort. So that's the hit effects table. Okay. So it's disrupted. A disrupted marker is placed on the unit, and they cannot shoot or move until a disruption is removed. Fortress is hit. 0, 2 dice. So EW -1. So you reduce by -1, -2. Okay. So that's how you track the EWs on a fort. Special armaments. Most units have a symbol of the after the attack value indicating the type of main armament used. Each type, and that's this symbol. Here that shows the armament, in that case a missile. So particle beams, attack value is increased by +1 against all Hoover and infantry. Magnetic auxiliary bolts, each value is increased by 1 against Grav unit targets. Gatling mounted pulse lasers, attack value is increased by 2 when firing at 1 hex range. Okay. Missiles may be fired at multiple targets in the same hex. In fact, the missile may attack every unit in the hex. The fire affects the order in which the units are attacked. The first unit is attacked. So when you fire at multiple units, the first unit is attacked with a normal attack value, second with normal value -1, third -2, etc. This continues until each unit hex has a shot against it. Carries when the infantry are single target. So it fires a bunch of missiles. That's interesting. Active defenses. Students with active defenses in black are active, like short missiles, rapid fire, etc. Defenses are added only against the first target in the hex. And I'll show this in play. I'll try to. Enhanced EW have it enhanced when the unit targets an enemy fire, the EW rate doubles. Fortress each fort has a, it's basically a normal unit but can't move. Examples: artillery, so orbital, artillery I guess is the idea. Common term for orbital artillery, which includes fire support from spaceships. So when it fires, artillery can fire only at the end of a phase, and all enemy units have finished movement. An artillery battery can fire at any hex within range and detected by a friendly unit on the map board. Dropships may carry up to 3 units. Carry with infantry unit. Inside counts as 1 unit. So dropship can dive. Talked about that already. Then scenarios, so it's got a lot of neat scenarios. five scenarios. And in each scenario then they talk about the map board configuration, how you organize the various map sections, terrain keys, what the terrain means, and then the forces deployed. And we'll be doing scenario 1, but you see here where the terrain keys, etc. So there's the relief of the 42nd, which is first. There's a star-based raid, which is 2, and they generally go from simpler to complex. A media engagement in 3. Heavy combat 1 and 4, and death from above in 5. So that's the rules, and then we'll get into setup and play. So I'll be doing the first scenario. Shown here. It's called the relief of the 42nd. It's complicated enough, but it's also the first one, and they tend to get more complicated, so I thought I'd do this one. Of course, it shows the board layout just using 4 of the sections, as it's shown here. So first you put the city basically in the center, one of the center hexes of the boards, and I've shown that here. And the terrain key, of course, like I said, each of these scenarios are different by the terrain keys, and it shows the movement points you need, and also the combat values. So yellow-orange is plains and farmland. Just 1 movement point, no combat value. Blue is, lakes and, rivers. Movement points, combat value of 1. Green, forest, combat movement 2s and 3 for Grav, and combat values of 2. Brown, 3s and 2s, mountains, and the city marker is shown there. So the Imperial forces, which are blue and then also green in this case, that player will move in the first phase of each turn. And then the units then are shown here, and I'll show where these are placed. But basically the So first you place the Imperial forces, and then they also have reinforcements that come in the third turn on the east or west edge of the map. The Pneumanic League forces are the firing play of the first phase, and they have these forces anywhere beyond the initial range of the Imperial units. So victory is the side which occupies a city at the end of the 9th turn. Aims to draw if the city is unoccupied at the end of the 9th turn. So here's the setup then. So for the Imperial forces, he said in some cases the green I go with the Imperial, some cases the green go with the League, but in this case they're going with the Imperial. I'm just putting down the counters that it says, in this scenario here. And the Imperial deploy anywhere within 3 hexes of the city, including the city if desired. So what I'm going to do is, for their initial forces, I'll put these 2 carriers here. These are stationary units, I'll put them there. And these, there's a Grav unit, this is a hovercraft, you can tell by the movement points. Put them there. And then there's 3 infantry, so I'll put an infantry in each of the carriers. And then I'll also put one in the city. So that's and then the reinforcements are out here. And these are just disruptor markers I'll use as I go. As far as the Pneumatic, again, it's all the forces are shown here. I've just taken the forces here now. So these are 3 carriers here, 3 carriers here, and then I'll put they can each carry 1 unit, so I'll put a infantry on each of the carriers. There's not a stacking limit. They can only carry 1 though. And these are all the range. The furthest range is 4 here, and all of these are beyond this 4 from this one. So they're all beyond the range. And then I just put the mix of various, Grav units here, Grav and Hoover units here, Grav units here, and some Hoover units here. So that's how it's all set up, and then we'll get into play. And I set it on turn 1. So I'll do a playthrough here, starting in right at the beginning. So according to the scenario, the Imperial forces move first, and then the other player fires. So they're kind of sticking around in a defensive way, but they will go to more favorable, I guess, terrain. And so the combat factor increases your defense value. So I'll move so the mountains are it's a little bit unclear what I'm assuming these are mountains. It's a little bit unclear because they look kind of gray to me. But he'll get off the transport, and he doesn't want to be hit while he's on the transport anyway, so he'll go here. And then actually the transport, so their movement allowance is there, and it requires infantry 1 to move there, and I'm sorry, it requires infantry 3 to move there, so they actually can't move into the mountain. The Hoover can though, so they'll move there. Since they have 4 movement points. These are stationary units, so they can't move. They'll move out 1 here. And that's kind of where they'll stay. And they moved, but they didn't move in range of anything to attack them. If they had moved in the attack range of anything, they would have attacked them, but they didn't. So now the Legion moves, or the League moves, I should say. And in again, according to the train marker, yellow-orange is 1, and so the ones with the black can do their grav movements, which costs half a point to move, but then they use the full to land, but they don't quite need that yet. But they want to start getting in on these forces because they want to reinforcements are coming in a couple turns, and they want to see what damage they can do here. So we'll start moving in here. These guys, the infantry, will all come off their transport, and they'll kind of stay back here because they don't want to get in range yet. Same with these infantry. I'll come off here. Yeah, I think then all these forces will just kind of move in on the perimeter, except for the infantry, so let's see what happens. So they need to be, in order for them to be seen, they have to be within their electronic warfare range, and they have to be within their fighting range too. His range is only 2, so he's going to get closer so he can attack next time. And he's a grav, so he can go so he only needs a 1 for yellow-orange, so he'll go half, and then half, and he'll he needs 3 to go on there, so instead he'll go here, and then he's within 2. So just for ease, I'll just move all my ones, and then I'll have the blue fire, since I'm just going to do the firing at the end of motion, since they're just all moving in. This is a Hoover unit, so, and his range is 3. He's a Hoover. His range is 2. He'll just move in 1 so we can get in closer next time. His range is 4, so... And again, these guys aren't firing this time, but they can fire the next time. He'll just start moving in. For right now, the transports will stay back by the infantry. And again, I could do the combat so that each time one moves, the other could fire. But since I'm going to the maximum movement before they fire, I'll just do them all this way. But if they get in their range, the other player can tell them to stop so they can fire in case they, for instance, were moving in their range and then moving out and they wanted to catch them before they moved out. So his range is 3, so he'll move right within range, so that way he's 3 within him, but he's beyond his 2. And same for him. He'll get within shot of him, but beyond his reach. And same for him. That's what they'll do here. And so these guys will start moving up, and his range is 4, and his is 3, so he wants to take advantage of that. And the reinforcement forces will come in from the east or west, and these guys will want to stay back here in case either side they come in, they have a thing in between them. So now, since that player moved, the other player can fire, and so we'll see what's in range here. To be in range, your electronic warfare has to be able to sense them, and then it has to be within the firing range. So I'll kind of go around this way. So obviously that's within range from both firing and that. So to do the attack rolls, then you look at the firing table and you do the attacker looks at the final hit value of the firer's electronic warfare, which is 5, plus the firer's attack, which is 7, so 12. And then if there's a bonus in the firing, so he's doing a bolt, a magnetic bolt, versus any grav vehicle, and it's not a grav vehicle, so he doesn't get a bonus on there. So it's 12, then minus the target electronic warfare, which is 3. So it's 9 plus target. So 9, and then minus the target defense, which is 2, so 7. And minus target terrain, and there's no effect. So it's a 7. And you look on there, roll 2 dice. And that's a hit, so it's destroyed. And combat's pretty lethal, so as you can see. So he went, and then he can fire things within a range of 2, which he is. And then, so he's got a missile. The firing then, so he's in both his electronic warfare and the attack range, so he's good there. So then we look at the values here. So 2 for electronic warfare, 2 for attack, so 4. So he, as far as bonuses, he's firing a missile. And again, we look at this bonus chart. here, or bonus graphic. He's doing a missile against a Grav tank, a Grav vehicle. And there's no bonuses for that, so he's at 4. And then minus the target electronic warfare, which is 4, so he's down to 0. Minus target defense, so now it's minus 4. Minus train. And he's on orange or yellow, which is no effect. So it's 4, you minus 4, 0. So that's minus 4. And so it's a minus 4. 7. And 7's a miss. So now he'll go. So he's electronic warfare and range is within here, so same. And so again, no terrain effects there. So 3 plus 3, 6. And he's doing a Gatling laser versus a Grav vehicle. And that doesn't have any bonuses. So 3 plus 3, 6. Minus 4. So we're down to 2. Minus defense. Minus another 4. So now we're down to minus 2. And there's no effect. So he goes to minus 2. And 6. He misses. So let's see what else is in range here. Everything else is beyond 3 here, so he can't fire. He can sense at 4, but his firing range is 3, so he can't hit him. Beyond range there. Beyond range here. So he's within 3, so he can go with either of these. Neither of them have a bonus on their terrain, so we go, and if it's a white on the electronic warfare, then on defense to get that, you double that for bonus, but he's on the attack, not the defense. So fortunately, the guys he's shooting at don't have a bonus for that. So it's 3 plus 2. Bonus, he's doing a missile versus a Grav vehicle. And there's no bonuses for that. So 3, 2, it's 5 minus 4, so he's down to 1, minus the defense, which is 4. So he's down to minus 3, no effective terrain. So look at the minus 3 table. 10. Hit. So that's successful. And then lastly, let's see if he's in range. So his EW is in 3, but his firing range is only 2, so we can't hit anything. So that's the end of that turn. And that was just a bit of a sense to get you an idea of how it plays. So that's the Grav Armor from Dwarfstar Games in 1982. It's very well done. It's got like a huge amount of replayability because of all the different maps, and it's neat that it matches up with the theme of there being a bunch of different worlds where these are happening, and so you go and the scenarios you do, these different worlds with different configurations. And not only can you change configurations, but the meaning of each of the hexes means something different in each scenario. It's got a good mix of counters as far as quantity and diversity, I guess. A bunch of scenarios. I mean, I played it, solitaire, and that worked fine because it's not, at least in the scenario, I didn't see any like hidden movement or anything, so you can do it solitaire, and that's good. It's a good kind of problem solving thing. I like the look of the components. I mean, they're cardboard, but they're rugged enough, and it's over 40 years old, so very well done, very well thought out. I mean, the combo is a mini game, or it's a small game, so by nature it's small, but packs a lot in the box. So I am tempted to even give it a 9, but I think we'll give it an 8.5, but I think I'll stick with integers and give it an 8. But highly recommended. Grav Armor by Dwarfstar Games. Thanks a lot.